So when it comes to PC gaming in 2019, a lot of people have mixed feelings when it comes to PC gaming in 2019. Now, when you think of PC gaming, you normally think of one thing, and what is that one thing? You normally think of Steam, because that's where most people buy their games on PC when they buy their games. But that really does make sense for a number of various reasons. First of all, I think Steam has the biggest library of video games, so that's where you're getting your video games. Whether we're talking about these big AAA releases or whether we're talking about these indie games, it really does just make sense to buy most of your games on the Steam store. And like I said, they also have a really good policy when it comes to refunds. Pretty much how a refund works on Steam: if you bought in a game in the first 14 days of owning it and you played less than 2 hours of the game, then you pretty much get a full refund, no questions asked. But then again, they aren't known to have the best customer service when it comes to customer service. But as a whole, everything that Steam does right. That, like I said again, they have the biggest library of games. Their refund policy is great. They have the biggest catalog of games. So most likely when you think of PC gaming, you think of Steam, because that's where most people buy their games on the PC. They buy under the Steam client. But you guys may remember late last year of 2018, Epic Games came along and said, nope, Steam, we can actually do a better job than your client on PC. So what did they do? They actually released a store called the Epic Game Store. Now, when it comes to PC gaming and comes to the Epic Game Store, a lot of people are up in arms when it comes to the Epic Game Store, because actually, as of right now, I would actually safely say more gamers are actually pissed at what Epic's doing with the Epic Game Store than actually liking them. But I still think there is some mixed feelings overall about the Epic Game Store, but more people are leaning towards the fact that they just don't like all the practices Epic has been doing with the Epic Game Store. Let me explain what I'm talking about. If you know anything about games, you may remember a game that came out last year, came out a couple of months ago called Metro Exodus. Metro Exodus apparently is a very great game, and that was a game that was originally was supposed to be launched on Steam, and that was all fine and well. But the problem was, at the 11th hour, right when that game was about to come out on Steam, they pretty much pulled the plug on that game, and they pretty much made it an exclusive to the Epic Game Store. The developers were the ones that actually decided to move their games over from the Steam store over to the Epic Game Store. The reason they actually moved their game over to the Epic Game Store was the fact that, if you didn't know this, Epic actually pays developers more money for their product, so they get a bigger percentage of the actual sale of the video game compared to what the Steam does. Steam doesn't give the developers as much money for their video game. They're pretty much taking a bigger percentage of the final paycheck of the game sales to Steam than what the developers want. So do I blame a dev like Metro Exodus devs to actually move their game away from the Steam store over to the Epic Game Store? Actually, I really don't blame them for doing this. It's kind of hard to say. I wouldn't do this if I was a developer, because obviously more money the better, and that means my company can thrive, and obviously you need money to live, and overall it makes sense. But the real problem people did not like about this situation was the fact that they removed it right before it was released on the Steam store, and right as it was about to come out. At least the good news with the game is, if you already pre-purchased it on Steam, they did allow you to keep your purchase there, and you didn't have to re-download it on the Epic Game Store or anything crazy like that. You can still play your purchase on Steam. Now, that game is going to be an exclusive to the Epic Game Store until 2020, so you can see that game's going to be there for about a year, and it is going to be exclusive. But to have a game come out so soon before release and then just pull the plug on it and move it to another client just really doesn't make sense. It really does seem kind of like a shady business practice. I'm okay if the company behind Metro Exodus wants to put their next upcoming game over to the Epic Game Store, but to have a game that's so close to release and is about to release kind of feels like it's a backstab to gamers to move it over to the Epic Game Store. And that's not the only game to be on the Epic Game Store that is exclusive. If you actually look up a list of games that are currently exclusive to the Epic Game Store, there's actually quite a number of games that are exclusive to the Epic Game Store, and there's actually one big release this year that's actually going to be on the Epic Game Store and not Steam, and a lot of fans out here definitely have a lot of mixed feelings on it, and a lot of gamers are actually pissed at the developer by actually moving their games to the Epic Game Store. The game I'm talking about is the upcoming upcoming Borderlands 3 game, and that's one game I'm super excited for it. And I was actually thinking about buying that on PC since I do have a pretty beastly gaming PC, and I would be able to play it on the PC. But after hearing this news, I can safely say as well, I'm kind of pissed at what Gearbox is doing when it comes to Borderlands 3 being moved to the Epic Game Store. And to make things worse, not only are you going to have to download another client, which I know a lot of people don't want to have all these applications installed on their PC. That's another big deal. It may not seem like a big deal if you never used a PC before or never played PC games, but having a whole bunch of clients clog up your PC is just not great. Overall, it slows down your PC. Overall, it's just not really a good vibe. It takes up more storage on your PC. And besides that, why would you want to have your game split between a whole bunch of different clients? That means you have to remember, oh yeah, my Borderlands copy is going to be on the Epic Game Store, my Metro is going to be on this Epic Game Store, but then all of the rest of my games are on Steam. But wait a second, not all my games are on Steam, they're also on this one called GAO or whatever, and then there's so many other clients, it's just freaking ridiculous. It kind of seems like it's really bloatware to your PC, and the PC experience is definitely not getting any good. And then on top of this, you do also have to worry that a lot of these clients may be spying on you, especially the Epic Game Store. It's already pretty much confirmed that they're taking weird data from your PC. They may be tracking what you're doing online. They may be tracking a lot of different aspects of your PC. And how are you supposed to have confidence in a company like Epic Games knowing that they could be spying on you? Don't get me wrong, of course, other companies like Steam are probably spying on you too. Let's be honest. They want to collect that data. They normally do that for one reason, to improve the store, improve their quality of the types of games they put on their store. They want to see what you're playing. They want to see what you're looking up in terms of video games, because most likely if you're a gamer, you're doing other things on your PC related to gaming, whether you're streaming, whether you're uploading things to, let's say, YouTube or anything like that. They want to collect that data, but that is some area that's a really sketchy area. And with everything that Epic Games has recently done to the gaming industry, it seems like they're doing a lot of shady practices by having a lot of exclusive games, and also by spying on people. Overall, people are getting this weird bad vibe from Epic Games. Do I blame them? No. Me personally, I do understand where people are coming from, and they're doing a lot of shady practices. But then, like I said before, if I was a game developer, it would almost be tempting to actually put my game as an exclusive on the Epic Game Store, because the payout is much more better. Actually, I do think in the near future, Steam is just going to have to cave in whether they like it or not, and stop being so greedy and actually bump up the amount of revenue developers get on Steam, and actually give them more money, because they don't want Epic Games to take over. Because it seems like as of right now, Epic Games is starting to take over. You see things like Metro, you also see things like the upcoming Borderlands 3 also going to be on the Epic Game Store. But if Steam actually matched what they did, or did it slightly better when it comes to revenue for the developers, then I think it would definitely be game over for Epic, and I don't think there would be any competition out there, at least when you compare it to Epic. I think everyone would stay on Steam. There's really no point of moving away from Steam. I know there's some developers out there as we speak right now would love to put their games on the Epic Game Store as an exclusive to get that better revenue when it comes to their video game making sales, but the real reason they're not doing it is because they don't want backlash from fans. Do I blame those companies? No, because a lot of the times too, your game success does come down to how much trust fans have in you, and if you have a lot of backlash towards your product, then of course your product may not sell well, even if it's a great game. But at least with Metro Exodus, fans did realize that game was a good game, and even though they did move it at the 11th hour over to the Epic Game Store, it still sold pretty well, and fans actually came back on Steam and actually bombshelled Steam when it comes to reviews. But they actually had a lot of positive things to say about the game, even though they weren't really happy about what they did overall with that game. So overall, what it looks like, Epic Games is doing more things wrong than more things right when it comes to PC gaming, and so many fans are up in the air about what everything is going on. It just happens to be that Epic is giving more developers more money when it comes to their video games, and I don't blame Dad for moving over there, but something has to be done. And it's just super frustrating to know that a lot of your games are going to be split with all these clients, and on top of that, Epic Games is spying on you. So overall, it doesn't really seem like Epic Game Store is that great of a client. But then again, who really knows? And you're pretty much forced to buy your favorite video game over on the Epic Game Store. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.